On Christmas morning at 6:47 a.m., Ellis March picked up a single father and his 6-year-old daughter outside a modest apartment in Queens. The little girl wore a red winter coat and carried a stuffed reindeer. The father carried a small suitcase and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Their destination? JFK Airport, Terminal 4, International Departures. Ellis thought it was just another holiday trip, but as they drove through the empty streets of a sleeping city, he would discover that some goodbyes aren't temporary. Some goodbyes are forever. And some Christmas mornings break your heart before the sun is fully up.
Christmas morning in New York City. The streets were empty and peaceful, covered in fresh snow that hadn't been walked on yet. Lights still glowed in windows, and the city felt softer somehow, quieter. Ellis March had volunteered to work Christmas morning, not because he needed the money, but because being alone in his apartment on Christmas felt worse than driving strangers around the city. The app pinged at 6:45 a.m. Pick up 2847 Northern Boulevard, Queens. Drop off JFK Airport, Terminal 4. Ellis pulled up to a worn brick building with a wreath on the door that had seen better days. Christmas lights blinked in a few windows, but most of the building was still dark. The door opened, and a man emerged carrying a little girl on his hip and a small rolling suitcase in his other hand. The man was maybe 35, with tired eyes and dark hair that needed a cut. He wore a gray jacket that was too thin for December and jeans that had been patched at the knee. The little girl wore a bright red puffy coat with white fur trim, like a little Santa helper. Her dark curly hair was pulled into 2 ponytails, and she clutched a stuffed reindeer with one missing antler. "Good morning," the man said, his voice hoarse. "Thanks for coming so early." "No problem," Ellis said, popping the trunk. "Merry Christmas." The man flinched slightly at the words, but managed to smile. "Yeah, Merry Christmas." He buckled the little girl into the back seat with practiced efficiency, kissed the top of her head, then slid in beside her. Ellis pulled into the empty streets. The little girl, maybe 6 years old, was bouncing in her seat with the kind of energy only children have at dawn. "Daddy, is the plane going to have movies? Can I watch Frozen? Will they have snacks? I'm hungry. Did you pack my reindeer? Oh wait, I have him. His name is Rudy. Well, actually Rudolph, but I call him Rudy because it's cuter." She talked in that continuous stream that kids do when they're excited and nervous at the same time. The father smiled at her, but Ellis could see the strain in his face, the way his jaw was tight, the way his hand kept reaching out to touch her hair, her shoulder, her hand, like he was memorizing her through his fingertips. "Good morning," the man said softly. "We'll get you breakfast at the airport, sweetheart. And yes, they'll probably have movies on the plane." "How long is the plane ride?" The man's voice caught slightly. "About 14 hours? That's so long!" The girl's eyes went wide. "That's like forever!" The man's smile cracked at the edges. "Yeah, baby. It's a long time." Ellis watched them in the mirror and felt something twist in his chest. There was something wrong here. Something beneath the surface. "Big trip for Christmas," Ellis said gently. The man looked up, met his eyes in the mirror. "Yeah, big trip." "Family overseas?" The man's expression shuddered. "Something like that." The little girl leaned forward against her seatbelt. "I'm going to see my mommy. I haven't seen her in forever. Well, like 6 months, but that's forever when you're 6. Ellis's hands tightened on the wheel. "That's wonderful," he said, keeping his voice light. "Your mom must be really excited to see you." "She is," the girl beamed. She sent me a video message yesterday. She said she has a room ready for me with pink walls and everything." Ellis glanced at the father in the mirror. The man was staring out the window, his jaw working like he was trying not to cry. They were crossing the Queensboro Bridge when the little girl said something that made the air in the car change. "Daddy, are you going to visit me? Like, can you come for my birthday?" The man's voice was thick. "We'll see, Maya. We'll see. But you promised you'll call me every day. You promised." "I promise, baby. Every single day." Maya seemed satisfied with this and went back to talking to her reindeer, making up stories about flying to see Santa. But Ellis saw the father's face, saw the way his hand was shaking, saw the way he pressed his fist against his mouth and closed his eyes. This wasn't a vacation. This wasn't even a custody visit. This was something else entirely.
They were on the highway, still 40 minutes from the airport, when Maya fell asleep against her father's shoulder, the stuffed reindeer tucked under her chin. The father stared down at her, his hand stroking her hair with infinite gentleness. Ellis spoke quietly. "She's a beautiful kid." The man looked up, and his eyes were wet. "She's everything." Silence. Then, "I'm Thomas, by the way." "Ellis." Thomas looked down at Maya again. "She doesn't know this is permanent." Ellis's heart stopped. "What?" Thomas's voice was barely a whisper, like he was afraid saying it louder would make it more real. "My ex-wife remarried. Her husband got transferred to Singapore. 6-figure job, American school for Maya, full expat package. Everything I can't give her." He swallowed hard. "They filed for full custody 3 months ago, and they won." Ellis felt like the air had been sucked out of the car. "I fought," Thomas continued, his voice breaking. "I fought so hard, but I'm barely making rent driving for a delivery service. I work 60 hours a week and still can't afford to take her to a doctor when she's sick without choosing between that and groceries." He wiped his eyes roughly. "The judge said it was in Maya's best interest to have stability, a 2-parent home, access to better education and health care, everything Singapore can offer that I can't." Ellis's throat was tight. "I'm so sorry. I get her for 2 weeks every summer. 2 weeks out of 365 days." He looked down at his sleeping daughter. "This is our last morning together. Maybe for 6 months, maybe longer if my ex decides the flights are too disruptive." Ellis felt like he'd been punched in the chest because he understood. He understood what it felt like to lose your child, to have them taken from you, not by death, but by circumstances you couldn't control. "I had a son, Daniel. He died 8 years ago in a car accident." Thomas looked up, his expression shifting to something softer. "I'm sorry, man. That's unbearable." Ellis nodded. "It was. It is. But you know what the worst part was?" "What?" "I wasn't there. I was never there. I was always working, always too busy, always convinced that providing was the same as being present." His voice cracked. "And when he died, I didn't just lose him. I lost all the moments I could have had with him, all the mornings I didn't wake up early to make him breakfast, all the nights I didn't read him a story because I was too tired." Thomas was staring at him. "You're there, Thomas. You're showing up. You're taking her to the airport even though it's killing you. You're calling her every day. You're fighting for every second you get." His eyes were wet now too. "That's not losing, Thomas. That's love." Thomas pressed his face to his hand, shoulders shaking silently. Maya stirred against her father's shoulder, blinking sleepily. "Daddy, why are you crying?" Thomas quickly wiped his face, forcing a smile. "I'm not crying, baby. Just tired eyes." Maya sat up, rubbing her face with small fists. She looked out the window and saw the signs for JFK Airport. "We're almost there. I'm going on an airplane. A real one." Thomas pulled her close, hugging her so tight Ellis thought he might never let go. "I love you so much, Maya. Do you know that? Do you know how much I love you?" Maya giggled. Like a million, billion, trillion? More than that. More than all the stars. Maya pulled back and looked at her father with those big, innocent eyes that didn't understand why this felt different. Will you be lonely without me, Daddy? Thomas's face crumbled for just a second before he caught himself. Maybe a little, but I'll be okay because I'll be thinking about you having fun with Mommy. Maya hugged her reindeer. Rudy will keep you company. Oh wait, I need Rudy with me. She thought hard. Maybe you can get your own reindeer. Thomas laughed through tears. Maybe I will.
Ellis pulled up to the International Departures Terminal. The airport was surprisingly busy for Christmas morning. Families, travelers, people starting journeys while others were ending them. Thomas sat frozen in the back seat, staring at the terminal doors like they were the gates of hell. "Daddy, come on!" Maya was already unbuckling. "We're going to miss the plane!" Thomas moved in slow motion, helping her out of the car, pulling the small suitcase from the trunk. Ellis got out too, standing by the car, not sure what to do but knowing he couldn't just drive away. Thomas knelt down in front of Maya, eye level with her. "Maya, baby, I need you to listen to me very carefully, okay?" Maya nodded, suddenly serious. "I need you to know that no matter where you are, Singapore or the moon or anywhere, I am always, always with you, right here." He pressed his hand over her heart. "And you're always with me, right here." He pressed her small hand to his own chest. Maya's lower lip trembled. "Daddy, you're scaring me. You're going to call me every day, right?" "Every single day," Thomas promised, his voice breaking. "I promise." "And I'll see you soon?" Thomas couldn't speak. He just pulled her into a hug and held on like she was the only thing keeping him from drowning. Thomas's phone rang. He pulled it out, looked at the screen, and his face went white. "It's your mom," he said to Maya. "She's waiting inside for you." Maya's face lit up. "Mommy's here?" Thomas nodded, unable to speak. He answered the phone. "Yeah, we're outside." "No, she's great." "Yeah, I'll bring her in now." He hung up. Then he looked at Ellis, and Ellis saw complete devastation in his eyes. "I can't go in there. If I go in there and see her with her new family, with the life she's building without me, I'm going to fall apart, and Maya can't see that." Ellis understood immediately. "I'll take her," Ellis said. Thomas looked at him with desperate gratitude. "You'd do that?" "Yes." Thomas knelt down again, cupped Maya's face in his hands. "Maya, my love, Mr. Ellis is going to walk you inside to Mommy, okay? I have to go move the car, but I'll be right there." It was a lie, and they both knew it. But Maya didn't. "Okay, Daddy." She threw her arms around his neck one more time. "I love you like a million, billion, trillion stars." Thomas's whole body shook. "I love you more." He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, the top of her head. Then he let her go. Ellis pulled up to the International Departures Terminal. The airport was surprisingly busy for Christmas morning. Families, travelers, people starting journeys while others were ending them. Thomas sat frozen in the back seat, staring at the terminal doors like they were the gates of hell. "Daddy, come on!" Maya was already unbuckling. "We're going to miss the plane!" Thomas moved in slow motion, helping her out of the car, pulling the small suitcase from the trunk. Ellis got out too, standing by the car, not sure what to do but knowing he couldn't just drive away. Thomas knelt down in front of Maya, eye level with her. "Maya, baby, I need you to listen to me very carefully, okay?" Maya nodded, suddenly serious. "I need you to know that no matter where you are, Singapore or the moon or anywhere, I am always, always with you, right here." He pressed his hand over her heart. "And you're always with me, right here."
He pressed her small hand to his own chest. Maya's lower lip trembled. "Daddy, you're scaring me. You're going to call me every day, right?" "Every single day," Thomas promised, his voice breaking. "I promise." "And I'll see you soon?" Thomas couldn't speak. He just pulled her into a hug and held on like she was the only thing keeping him from drowning. Thomas's phone rang. He pulled it out, looked at the screen, and his face went white. "It's your mom," he said to Maya. "She's waiting inside for you." Maya's face lit up. "Mommy's here?" Thomas nodded, unable to speak. He answered the phone. "Yeah, we're outside." "No, she's great." "Yeah, I'll bring her in now." He hung up. Then he looked at Ellis, and Ellis saw complete devastation in his eyes. "I can't go in there. If I go in there and see her with her new family, with the life she's building without me, I'm going to fall apart, and Maya can't see that." Ellis understood immediately. "I'll take her," Ellis said. Thomas looked at him with desperate gratitude. "You'd do that?" "Yes." Thomas knelt down again, cupped Maya's face in his hands. "Maya, my love, Mr. Ellis is going to walk you inside to Mommy, okay? I have to go move the car, but I'll be right there." It was a lie, and they both knew it. But Maya didn't. "Okay, Daddy." She threw her arms around his neck one more time. "I love you like a million, billion, trillion stars." Thomas's whole body shook. "I love you more." He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, the top of her head. Then he let her go.
Ellis took Maya's small hand in his, and they walked into the terminal together. Maya chattered the whole way, completely unaware that, behind them, her father was standing on the curb, watching her disappear through the automatic doors. Ellis looked back once. Thomas was on his knees on the sidewalk, his face in his hands, sobbing. "Mr. Ellis, do you have kids?" Maya asked, looking up at him with those bright, innocent eyes. Ellis's throat was so tight he could barely speak. "I did, a long time ago." "What was their name?" "Daniel, but we called him Danny." Maya nodded seriously. "That's a good name. I bet Danny loved you a lot." Ellis had to stop walking for a second. "I hope so," he whispered. They found Maya's mother at the security checkpoint, a polished woman in her 30s with a new husband beside her, both of them smiling. "Maya!" The mother knelt down, arms open. Maya ran to her, and Ellis stepped back. The mother looked at him, confused. "Where's Thomas?" "He had to move the car," Ellis said, the lie bitter on his tongue. He said goodbye." The mother's expression flickered with something. Guilt, relief, maybe both. She nodded. "Thank you." Ellis watched them walk toward security, Maya's small hand in her mother's, the new family unit complete. And he thought about Thomas on his knees outside.
Ellis walked back outside and found Thomas exactly where he'd left him, sitting on the curb, face in his hands, shoulders shaking. Ellis sat down beside him. They sat there together in silence while people rushed past them with luggage and joy and destinations. Finally, Thomas spoke, his voice raw. "How do you survive this? How do you wake up tomorrow and the next day and the next day knowing she's gone?" Ellis thought about Danny, about Claire, about 8 years of running from that exact question. "Honestly, you don't survive it. Not at first." Thomas looked at him. "You just breathe, one breath at a time, 1 hour at a time. And some days that's all you can do." Ellis's voice got stronger. "But you know what you have that I didn't?" "What?" "Time. Maya's not gone. She's just far away. You get to call her every day. You get to hear her voice. You get to be part of her life." Thomas's face crumpled. "It's not enough." "No," Ellis agreed. "It's not. But it's something. And something is more than nothing." Ellis stood up, offered Thomas's hand. "Come on, I'm taking you home." Thomas looked up at him. "I can't pay you for all this time." I don't want your money. Ellis pulled him to his feet. What I want is for you to go home, and when Maya calls tonight, because she will, I want you to answer with your whole heart. I want you to be present for every minute you get with her, even if it's through a screen. He looked Thomas in the eye. Don't do what I did. Don't let grief make you disappear. Fight for every second. Thomas nodded, tears streaming down his face. Okay. They drove back through the city in silence. The sun was fully up now, and the streets were starting to fill with people heading to Christmas brunches and family gatherings. When they pulled up to Thomas's building, Thomas turned to Ellis. Thank you for everything. For walking her in, for sitting with me. Ellis nodded. You're going to be okay, Thomas. Will I? Ellis thought about it honestly. Eventually. Not today. Probably not tomorrow. But eventually. Thomas got out, then turned back. Your son, Danny, he was lucky to have you as a father. Even if you think you weren't there enough, the fact that it still hurts means you loved him. And that matters. Ellis felt something break open in his chest. Thank you, he whispered. Thomas nodded and walked into his building, shoulders hunched against the cold.
Ellis sat in his apartment that night, staring at his phone. At 6 p.m., he called his ex-wife Claire. She answered on the third ring. Ellis? Hi. Merry Christmas. There was a pause. Merry Christmas. I know we said we'd have coffee next week, but I needed to call you now. Is everything okay? Ellis took a breath. I drove a father to the airport this morning. He was sending his daughter to live overseas permanently. Full custody lost. Claire was quiet. And watching him say goodbye to her, watching him break apart, Claire, I realized something. What? I lost Danny. I can't change that. But I lost you too, and that was my choice. My failure. His voice cracked. And I don't want to spend the rest of my life running from that. I want to try, to make amends, to be the person I should have been. Claire was crying softly. Ellis, I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm not even asking you to see me if you're not ready. I just need you to know I'm sorry for all of it. There was a long silence. Then Claire spoke, her voice gentle. I'll see you next week. For coffee. Thank you. Ellis? Yeah. I'm glad you called. That night, Ellis stood at his window, looking out at the city lights. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Thomas. Maya called. She made it safe. Thank you for today. You saved my life. Ellis typed back, You're going to be okay, both of you. He set the phone down and thought about Maya on that plane, flying toward a new life. About Thomas in his empty apartment, waiting for tomorrow's phone call. About Claire, willing to have coffee. About Danny, who would always be 7 years old in his memory. And about himself, a man who'd spent 8 years running from grief, finally learning to stand still. Some rides end at the curb. Others go much further. If this story reminded you that love survives distance, that grief doesn't mean giving up, and that showing up matters even when it hurts, subscribe to Taxi Driver Stories for daily journeys of heartbreak, hope, and healing. New stories every day, because sometimes the ride changes everything.